the number one thing about this franchise has always been how it feels to play it, how it feels to control the character and interact with the environment.
Skateboarding is like, there are no rules. I mean, that's the essence of skateboarding.
Being young and wild and crazy and doing stuff you're not supposed to do.
The game actually was innovative in that it really opened up a whole new genre.
I think that the title, that our franchise and our titles stay popular because we really do reinvent it every time.
I went down, and it burned.
I started skating when I was about 9 or 10 years old. My brother was into it, and he taught me how to stand up and gave me one of his old boards to start out with. There's always an arcade at the skate park, you know, so we were just the slaves to whatever games that they let the skate park have.
Well, years ago, I think it was 1998, there was a lot of things going on in the skate world. It was kind of picking up, and there had been some kind of concepts that had been thrown around. And at the time, I think there was a big game in the arcade. It was a game called Top Skater from Sega. And a lot of us had been playing that. And Scott Pease, who's out at Neversoft now, he was here at Activision working with me. And we were working on a game with Joel and the guys out at Neversoft called Apocalypse, and we were kind of, you know, skate fans growing up and things like that, and we busted out the boards and started skating a little around Activision.
The first Tony Hawk demo was Bruce Willis with his machine gun, slapped on a skateboard, you know, a half pipe and a bowl just dropped in the middle of an apocalyptic city, and you could kind of, you know, pump back and forth and do like a single trick.
We threw the skate concept together, just the basics of it. We started working on the demo. And at that point, we approached Tony Hawk, and at the time he had been, I think, talking to a few video game companies.
There was a guy that wanted to make one for PC, and he approached me, and I went to a few meetings with him with different software developers and just got shut down everywhere we went.
Well, on our side, there were a lot of people at Neversoft that were passionate about skateboarding, and when the idea came over from Activision, we just jumped all over it. It was really like a complete no-brainer.
And not long after that, Activision called me and said, hey, we're working on a video game. Do you want to be a part of it? And I was just, you know, I was already jaded from my past experience. So yeah, sure, I'll come up and meet him.
Tony kind of rolled in. He's wearing, you know, ripped up cargo pants and a t-shirt, and he sits down, and all of a sudden they're throwing slides at him with revenue charts and, you know, graphs and all these things. And then finally we got to wheel in the game demo that Neversoft had been working on.
I saw their engine and I realized they were on the right track. You know, it already felt like you were skating, and they hadn't even put tricks in it yet. And so I pretty much signed on right away. Said I want to do, you know, because I knew I'd get in there from the ground level and be able to guide it, you know, with my expertise and my resources and make it the real thing. The motion capture was not nearly as glamorous as I had imagined it to be. You know, I'm basically in a skin-tight suit with all these little styrofoam metallic balls strapped to me, even on my board, which made it that much harder to skate, you know, because they can't move, they can't get knocked off or whatever, and you're supposed to perform some of the hardest moves. Because that's what we want to do. We want to get the hardest moves, the actual motion in the game. I'm sitting there like, barely able to move. Okay, just do the hardest things right now. Go.
Tony Hawk was, I think, one of the first real expansive trick-based games. So kind of our goal was to take that trick-based gameplay and then put it in a wide open, you know, expansive environment, like real cities where you could do tricks anywhere you wanted to. You know, anything you see, you can trick off of. And you can just keep going because it's skateboarding. You know, you don't have to go downhill.
Pretty soon we found out that you could develop a level that you could essentially skate in without ever ending and always find new cool ways to combine the elements within the level into different lines.
My expectations for the game were that I thought it was going to do well in the skate industry. That was it. You know, I thought the skaters would be like, oh, finally there's a cool game with skating, you know, like real skate tricks, and we can identify with the characters and the moves and the locations.
Expectations were, you know, very modest, very low. We didn't have a big marketing budget. There wasn't a lot of resources put behind it. No one thought this was going to be the biggest title of the year for the company.
Then when the game actually came out, it just, I mean, you could just see it, week after week. It was like you could see kids talking about it in the numbers. Like people were getting so excited about it, just kept growing and growing and growing, and it became a phenomenon.
And it wasn't until the game came to life and consumers actually put their hands on it and played it that we realized, wow, we have something special here.
In the skate world, I remember a couple of the cool skater guys, I could hear them talking like, have you played the game? And I already knew what they were talking about. Like, did you get the game yet?
Once the thing kind of took off, people wanted to be in the game. I mean, the game in and of itself became a vehicle that would actually help people's careers along.
The group of pros that we chose were pretty obvious. They were the upper echelon. They were the most popular riders.
In the beginning, it was a little bit of a sell. It's like, this is what it's going to be like. This is how you'll be represented. We'd get them to come in and show it to them and try to, get them excited about it.
It was kind of like we had these guys, and then after that, it would be a very gray area of who would be included. And I started getting phone calls and emails, like, yo, you gotta get me in the next game, what's up? And it was like, oh man, and it at some point I just couldn't deal with it. Like it had to be out of my hands. On the message boards, people were voting for who should be in the next game, and I was like, leave it to those guys.
Working with the pro skaters in the game, Tony and the rest of the guys, I mean, it's been completely invaluable. I mean, they come in to Neversoft and answer all our questions about skateboarding. They check out the game, they play it, they make sure that the tricks that we're putting in the game come off correctly and they're accurate.
Do you want to go big?
Tony Hawk 2, I think, was tough because we knew that, the franchise had created a lot of buzz, and I think we knew second time around there was going to be a lot of new, people to the franchise coming in because they'd heard about it. And also, I mean, there was a lot of just pickup in the skating community. Tony had done the 900 in August of '99, which had created a lot of buzz, and you'd see that on ESPN and like the 100, greatest sports moments of the century and things like that. So there was a lot of new people coming into the franchise, and at the same time, we had this burden where we had all these pros, like video game pros from the first game, who could get, at the time, 1 million or 2 million points or something. It was really tough to try to balance the game for both sides, for the people who were really, really good and the people that were new to the franchise.
Quite frankly, there's been a moment or two when we're like, damn, what are we going to do next year? But we always come back to skating and the culture and essentially how can we have fun, with the game and the culture and bring all these things together. And the beauty of it is skateboarding in and of itself changes every single year.
Last year we changed the game concept pretty dramatically. I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the series 1 through 4, really focused on the fantasy of skating like a pro. You chose one of many of the top pro skaters, street and vert. From there you kind of pretended like you were that pro skater, whereas the Underground series really focused on you.
Well, after number 4, it felt like if we did another game in the Pro Skater franchise, then all we could possibly do is say, hey, we need new locations and maybe some new tricks and a couple new riders. So we went with the Underground theme, which is basically you're the star of the game. It's your deal. You can put your face in the game. You can create your own challenges, and you can get a sense of what it's like to sort of work your way through the ranks and become a pro.
The idea we came up with was to do a story, to try to draw you into the world of skateboarding, let you experience what the pros did when they were coming up through the ranks, and just make it all a bit more personal.
I personally feel like Underground 2 is going to be a lot more fun and a lot more action-oriented than Underground, because we've already established that, okay, you're the star, you've reached the top of the pro ranks, now you can have fun. And now it's going to be, you're on either Bam's team or my team, and it's world destruction. It's like anything goes. So I feel like this game is going to be just a lot more fun, a lot more chaos.
One of the cool things that came out of Tony Hawk's Underground was that it seemed like the fans and the kids really responded to being in the scenes with the other pros, where they were playing themselves as their character and they're hanging out with the pros. So the new game, Tony Hawk's Underground 2, is pretty much all about that. You are on a crazy world destruction tour with
The pros.
Two of the biggest pros, Bam and Tony Hawk. You can create your own graphic. You can we've got a little image editor in there where you can come up with pretty much anything you can think of, you should be able to create it in their crazy clan logos or company logos or whatever, trash talking, and make that your tag, and then you can run around the levels and spray paint your tag, over all the beautiful artwork that we've worked so hard to create for you.
The biggest new change is it's basically a new story, a new quest. I mean, you go on this adventure and you don't know what's going to happen next, especially with a character like Bam Margera, where everything is unexpected and there's some pretty big surprises.
Getting Bam involved opens up a whole new realm of crazy crap to do in the game.
It's always fun working with Bam. Bam, when he signs on to something, he gets so into it that it's like, okay, just let him roll. Let him come up with his crazy ideas. Because obviously that's what he's done with his TV show. And I've already been getting calls like, hey, I gotta do the commercial for this thing. It's like, okay, Bam, come up with an idea. Give me a call back. He's just so excited about it, and it's great because you know that if he really loves it that much and he embraces it, then he's gonna make it that much better because he's gonna come up with all these even better ideas than we had before.
Bam, I'd be afraid to go on tour. That guy's crazy. The little virtual guy, he just doesn't get hurt. Looks like he gets hurt. Blood splatters around and stuff. He keeps getting up.
The real Tony Hawk has showed some amazing stamina. I'll say that. I mean, he's certainly taking his knocks and he keeps getting back up and skating.
I don't think I'd bet against the real Tony. That guy's limber.
I don't think I'll ever quit skating. So in terms of who's gonna skate longer, is it my character or me? I'll still be skating. My character will probably be doing things in the coming years that I'll never even attempt or want to attempt. But then again, he's gonna bleed like I'll never want to bleed. So there you go.